David. And I'm 6'4" and fairly strong and healthy. I've known Al now for about 50 years. I'm married to Sue. I have 2 children, 7 grandsons, but I was brought up in a non-Christian home. I became a Christian about 16. In 1996, living in Surrey and leading a church with my wife Sue, we were there for about 4 years, but then felt God prompt us to become a church without walls. In 2001, we moved to Devon, to a place called Blagdon Farm. We had 9 cottages, a lake, an indoor pool, a games room, 35 acres to look after, and we even opened a bar and bistro. Our market was mainly the disabled, people like you and me, but whose legs didn't work. We had spinal injuries, motor neurone disease, some people with cancer, and MS. They were our largest percentage of guests. Probably about 70% had MS. I guess 20% were spinal injuries and 10% were the rest. After 5 years there, we felt God prompting us to move on, and we moved to Sanderstead. I was 51. Early in 2008, I was running a charity quiz night with Sue, and after, as we finished, I fell down twice. I was already experiencing needles and pins and tingling, and I was losing feeling in my fingers and my toes. I was having difficulty dressing, and buttons particularly, and putting jumpers on were difficult. By April, I was stumbling and my feet were dragging when I walked. By May, my doctor had started taking blood tests and referred me to a consultant, telling me he thought I had MS. My walking now was so bad that I asked for a walking stick. Stairs were very difficult. I was very fatigued and I was sleeping most afternoons. I was deteriorating rapidly. My arms also weak. I needed 2 hands to lift a pint of beer even. I now had shooting pains like electric shocks. They were frequent, and I had nerve spasms that caused my legs to suddenly kick out. I was really disabled, and I was using a wheelchair or a scooter. In December 2011, Professor Scolding, my consultant, reported the electrical conductive test had shown damage which was consistent with MS. He said I could slow the deterioration down by getting pregnant, which wasn't really very helpful. In December 2012, Professor Scolding said, "You know it's incurable, don't you?" He asked me how I was. I said I was sleeping badly and my legs were very painful. He said he'd write to my doctor confirming I had progressive MS, and he put me on a drug called gabapentin. By now I was really struggling with stairs, and I often had to go up, sitting on my bottom one at a time. So in 2013, we had a ground floor annex built with a bedroom and a roll-in wet room which I could move into. I could only walk about 100 metres, and that was on a good day, but after that my legs simply just stopped working. Some days I couldn't even manage to walk as far as our next door neighbours. My oxygen levels were very low. Muscles around my lungs were no longer receiving the message from the brain to operate the lungs, so my breathing had become poor. I couldn't defecate without medication, but I had urinary urgency. Fatigue was awful, so I slept every afternoon. If we went out, I had to take my folding electric scooter. If I did walk a little, I needed 2 sticks or my crutches. I'd now had a blue disabled badge, and I've been put on disability benefit. And I was on 9 different medications a day to try and control the MS symptoms. On the 31st of October 2017, I woke. I always seem to wake between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, but rather than get upset, I simply say, "Okay, Lord, you've woken me. Who shall I pray for?" Paul, our neighbour, came to mind. His MS is now so bad that he can't even feed himself. Indeed, he really can't move anything anymore, with the exception of little movement in his right hand. He now uses speech recognition software for his computer, and my heart really goes out to him. When they first moved here to the village and they came round for dinner, he walked using a stick. Now his wife has to hoist him in and out of bed and into his wheelchair, having washed and dressed him. He can't even feed himself. So I was praying hard for Paul, saying, "God, heal him," when I heard, "I'm going to heal you." When you hear something like that, you think, I've made that thought come into my mind, but it wouldn't leave me. I pleaded with God to heal Paul and not me. I prayed, "God, Paul is so much worse than I am. I can manage, but Paul is now totally immobile. He needs full-time care. Please heal him." The voice repeated, "I'm going to heal you." Eventually I went back to sleep, but when I awoke later, I just knew I'd been healed. My legs felt so strong. The following week we drove to our daughter's, as she had a broken oven and a hob where only three wings were working. I fixed the oven and the hob, at which point she mentioned that the boys' bathroom toilet was broken and the bathroom light. Their house is a townhouse over 3 stories, and the boys' bedrooms and bathroom at the very top. I've only once, or maybe twice, made it to the top of the stairs, as I mentioned, stairs are impossible for me. Trying to lift my legs that high was also totally exhausting. I climbed them easily that day, and then came down again to get some tools. The second time I climbed them, I went up 2 at a time. I fixed the toilet, but needed a new light fitting for the bathroom, so back downstairs and off to B&Q for a light fitting, which entailed wandering around a massive B&Q, which again I did with no problem and no sticks. I returned to our daughter's and then back up the stairs. I fitted the new lights and then came back down again. My legs were absolutely fine. Indeed, later that evening I went upstairs again to sort the boys out who were out of their beds. Finally I climbed the stairs to go to bed. Previously, one set of stairs was all I could manage, and that was a struggle. Now I had climbed to the 3rd floor at least 5 times. So God has fully healed me of MS, for which there are no adequate words to describe my gratitude at His awesome love. Of all of those medications I was on, I'm now on none at all. I do carry quite a deal of guilt. Why me, Lord? Why not Paul? I don't have the answer to this, but perhaps I should ask, who am I to question God's authority and His grace? I simply feel inadequate and undeserving of this amazing gift of His miraculous healing and the new life that He's given me. I'd never prayed for my healing. My little grandsons had. They prayed at night for Grandpa with the poorly legs. Some people claim that miraculous healing stopped with the death of the last disciples. I can assure you it didn't. There is a God, and He loves you and me more than you'll ever know. If you don't know Him, follow my advice. Get to know Him. It's an awesome, life-changing experience. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great time. Oh, and by the way, Al wasn't always good at choosing cars. When we knew him when he was younger, he had a Bog Anglia. Cheerio, guys.